This chapter was a whirlwind. The MC's Southern tour isn't just a holiday, it's a masterclass in nation-building on the go. From casually distributing reconnaissance Marvel binoculars to the troops, sparking immediate tactical insights to Jinying's brilliant cheese-making initiative. Who knew it was like tofu? The Han tribe's progress is relentless and organic. I especially loved the detailed explanation of selective breeding. Using sheep as an example was so vivid. It's this blend of high-level strategy and down-to-earth problem-solving that makes this story so compelling. But the real kicker was the Xin tribe's disastrous sailing attempt and their subsequent, almost comical desperation to buy more advanced Han ships. The MC's shrewd decision to sell them new ships, knowing the waterproofing tech is beyond them, is pure strategic genius. With the Han tribe's tech tree branching out in all directions, from optics to dairy to advanced shipbuilding, and Tang, Yao's very interesting question at the end. How will these diverse advancements coalesce to reshape their world next? After lingering in Kaiyuan City for another 2 days, experiencing the life of a grassland prince galloping on horseback and leisurely herding livestock, you set off with your wives and children. Next stop, Tuohai Prefecture, then Tuohai Prefecture. However, you didn't plan to stay long in these two places. After all, they were newly developed cities. The conditions were Spartan, and construction sites were bustling everywhere. There really wasn't much scenery to behold. This inspection tour had only 3 main objectives: to deliver binoculars to the local high officials, to check on the progress of construction projects, and to arrange for the establishment of cheese factories. Traveling and observing along the way, your anxious heart finally settled when you saw that the inner city walls of the 2 new prefectures stood proud and imposing. Regardless, with both inner and outer city walls, the new prefectures at least had their first line of defense, and you had personally overseen the placement of cannons to hold the fort. This way, any troublemakers thinking of causing problems for the new prefectures would have to think twice, ultimately destined to fall before the Han tribe's dark cannon muzzles, singing a mournful tune. In mid-August, after inspecting the 3 Grassland prefectures, you finally arrived at the docks of Tuo High Prefecture. Standing on the high stern castle of a large sailboat, you raised your binoculars and took a look. Good heavens, the living conditions of the people on both banks of the river were laid bare before your eyes. The Tang Tribe on the east bank gave you the first impression of being casual, willful, and doing whatever they pleased. It wasn't for any other reason. Purely because the first sight of the Tang Tribe's messy, disorganized farmlands made you feel uncomfortable all over, almost triggering your obsessive-compulsive tendencies. Row planting, concentrated ridge cultivation, such concepts simply didn't exist there. As far as the eye could see, it was all the broadcast sowing method, where seeds were scattered haphazardly. Moreover, in some places where the germination rate was too low, they hadn't bothered to replant, resulting in patchy fields that looked like they had alopecia areata, a truly distressing sight. As a former soldier, the kind who folded his quilts into perfect squares, while you wouldn't say your OCD was severe, the habits ingrained from years of military life made it impossible for you to tolerate such a chaotic scene. The more you looked, the more your hands itched, and you had a strong urge to rush over and organize everything properly for them. Turning to look at Tuo High Prefecture on the west bank, the scene was entirely different. Rice paddies, wheat fields, and cornfields were laid out in neat, orderly blocks planned like parade formations. Whether viewed diagonally or straight on, it produced an extremely comfortable visual experience, a perfect 10 for its healing effect. The common folk toiled diligently in the fields, while workers were busy constructing the city with great enthusiasm. A large number of people had set up simple shanties outside the city walls. These would be their temporary homes until the new houses in the city were completed. However, these tribespeople who had migrated from various surrounding tribes had no complaints. Their current living conditions were about the same as before, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But since joining the Han tribe, their food, clothing, shelter, and transportation had received tangible guarantees. The high-yield crop seeds provided by the Han tribe were treated by them like sacred objects. These newly immigrated commoners all saw a bright future for their lives in these miraculous seeds, because they knew that by joining the Han tribe, as long as they were willing to work hard, they would definitely have enough to eat and would never go hungry again. This was already the most ordinary and practical wish for most common people, to eat their fill at every meal, at least twice a day. However, since joining the Han tribe, this wish had not only been realized, but exceeded. The faces of the people in Tuo High Prefecture were all beaming with pride, joy, and happiness. This was the most direct and resounding affirmation of the Han tribe's governance, because the Han tribe had boats and could go to sea to fish and catch shrimp, because the Han tribe engaged in animal husbandry, and the great victory at the beginning of the year had yielded mountains of meat. Combining these factors, for the common people at the grassroots level, it meant that not only had their wish for at least 2 full meals a day been met, but they could even eat meat at least once every day. Whether it was fish, chicken, duck, or eggs, it was different every day, and their lives were quite comfortable, especially those construction workers whose meals were uniformly provided by the official bureaus. They worked hard, firing bricks, building houses, digging canals, and raising earthen walls, all heavy manual labor. As their big boss behind the scenes, how could the Han tribe mistreat its own people? The good food provided to the construction workers in Tuo High Prefecture had once even become an object of envy and jealousy. Countless newly migrated people took pride in being able to join the city construction teams. Never mind the tiring work, the meals were filling, and there was delicious meat they had never dared to dream of before. All sorts of novel ways of eating it, especially that braised pork colored with sugar. The taste was so fragrant it could make you swallow your tongue. In fact, it was this very dish of braised pork that first introduced the common folk to the miraculous substance called sugar. There were many sweet things in nature, but it was rare to be able to properly refine pure white sugar. Old honey that had been stored for hundreds of years might occasionally show crystallized sugar, but who would be willing to sell honey of that quality? It was treasured. Leader, look at the sweet sorghum planted by the Tang Tribe on the opposite bank. The harvest doesn't seem to be very good. Dashu had also boarded the ship long ago, partly to welcome you, the great leader, and partly to report on his work. They didn't plant it according to our requirements. The scale is small, and the yield is low. I'm afraid it won't sell for much. That's easy to handle. Do what needs to be done, same old rules. You patted Dashu's shoulder, looking completely confident. Pick someone smart and set an example. Reward those who plant well generously, and let those who don't do a good job be envious. Add a little pressure from the Tang Tribe's side, and the next sorghum harvest will definitely be better. Don't rush, you've just arrived. Tuo High Prefecture and the Tang Tribe are both large. Take it slow. You can't get fat in one bite. These words, when they reached Tang Yao's ears, tasted like salt sprinkled into sweet porridge. Strange. Frankly, the Tang Tribe's management system was indeed not as effective as the Han Tribe's. With the Han Tribe's centralized system, your orders could be directly conveyed to every household, and commands were strictly followed. Coupled with the Han Tribe's mature legal codes, no one dared to disobey your instructions on how to farm. But the Tang Tribe was different. Tang Ji, the so-called leader of the Tang Tribe, was, to put it bluntly, more like a paramount chieftain. When it came to major external affairs concerning the entire tribe, such as who to fight or ally with, her word carried the most weight. She was the backbone of the entire Tang Tribe, but when it came to internal management, it was basically each small clan living its own life, managing its own affairs. Tang Ji rarely interfered in the trivial matters of the common folk. Only when faced with major catastrophes, such as a severe drought one year when the entire Tang Tribe had no harvest and was on the brink of starvation, would those commoners and the chieftains of the small clans suddenly remember, "Oh dear, we still have a paramount leader." It sounded quite tragic, a tool-person leader through and through. But undoubtedly such a leader was, paradoxically, the most beloved by the common folk. Why? because the leader could help them solve major problems they couldn't handle themselves. Who wouldn't like such a leader? They'd be eager to support her. Seeing that the group was about to disembark, Tang Yao hesitantly approached you. Chief, I won't go to Tuo High Prefecture with you all, she said softly. I want to go back and see my aunt first. She doesn't know you're here yet, and I want to tell her. My aunt, she's always wanted to meet you. In a couple of days, I'll bring her to see you. Is that okay? Of course, that's no problem, you readily agreed. You haven't been home for nearly half a year. You should indeed have a good reunion with your relatives. How about this? Don't rush. In 3 days, I'll formally send an invitation, inviting you and Chief Tang to be guests in Tuo High Prefecture. I'll send a large ship to pick you up then. We must make a grand show of it. At this moment, you stood on your own territory by the sea breeze caressing you, feeling incredibly refreshed. After a brief thought, you readily agreed to Tang Yao's request. Besides, you did indeed have matters you wanted to discuss thoroughly with Tang Ji. Instead of waiting for them to come knocking on your door, it was better to do them a favor and proactively invite them. Wouldn't that make the relationship between the two sides seem much closer? That's wonderful. Tang Yao's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and a smile blossomed on her face. Aunt will be so happy to know you've personally invited her as a guest. Thank you, you. She bowed to you again, and was about to find someone to take her to the opposite bank. Wait a moment. You suddenly stopped Tang Yao, then took an exquisite small wooden box from Xiaojiwei's hand and pressed it into Tang Yao's. This is... Tang Yao took the wooden box, puzzled, her questioning eyes also holding a hint of anticipation as she looked at you. It's nothing particularly rare to give you. You casually opened the box, revealing a pair of binoculars inside. Inside are 2 zoom binoculars, one for you and one for your aunt. Consider it a small meeting gift from me, nothing grand. The box indeed contained gift-grade binoculars. You see, the binoculars issued by the Han Tribe to the army were all simple iron tubes painted black, unadorned. But this model for Tang Yao rarely used copper for the lens barrels. The bronze barrels gleamed golden in the sunlight, clearly appearing, more luxurious and high-end than the military versions. In reality, their performance was largely the same. It was mainly for aesthetics and prestige. Tang Yao's eyes lit up, her joy overflowing, clearly captivated by these binoculars. She had seen such ingenious and magical devices before, but those were borrowed from Xiaojiwei and Zhan Ying. She didn't own any herself. Tang Yao had been very envious. Now that you personally gave her a more beautiful pair, obviously a specially customized limited edition, how could she not be overjoyed? Thank you for the binoculars. I love them. Aunt will definitely love them too, Tang Yao said, carefully closing the box. Then before you could react, she suddenly stepped forward and quickly hugged you, leaving you stunned. Before you could recover, she dung ran off the ship and disappeared, leaving behind only a string of bell-like laughter. Dashu, standing nearby, had witnessed everything, a faint, knowing smile on his face, like that of a doting aunt. Because he was relatively close to you, he even joked, "Leader, it seems our peaceful annexation of the Tang Tribe is quite promising. Ha ha ha. Hey, well, what you say is true." You also smiled and pointed at him. "But I still think we should give them a little pressure. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be those who are unconvinced and cause trouble when it comes to management later on." Dashu frowned in thought upon hearing this, then nodded in deep agreement. That's true. This fellow Dashu had already served 2 consecutive terms as a regional governor. He naturally understood a lot about these intricate matters of management. Truth be told, given the current ironclad friendly cooperation between the Han Tribe and the Tang Tribe, coupled with the ambiguous and unclear personal relationship between you and Tang Yao, if you wanted to directly annex the Tang Tribe through marriage, it would be as easy as flipping your hand, a matter of minutes. But the crucial problem was that the Tang Tribe was different from the Han Tribe. In the Han Tribe, your word was law. But the leader of the Tang Tribe didn't have that much control over her own people. To put it bluntly, the actual power of the tribe still rested in the hands of the chieftains of the small clans. Gaining the support of Tang Yao's family was certainly no problem, a piece of cake. The fear was that the chieftains of those small clans would jump out to obstruct you and cause trouble. If they lost their heads at that point and staged some drama like deposing Chief Tang Ji and electing a new leader, and then the new leader declared, "No recognition of the Han-Tang merger, and no recognition of you as leader," that would be quite troublesome, enough to give you a serious headache. Moreover, this was almost a certainty, 100% guaranteed to happen. Why? Because once you took over the Tang Tribe, you would inevitably not allow it to continue developing in its previous free and undisciplined manner. You would definitely use your own methods to carry out drastic reforms, install your own officials, and seize the actual management power of the tribe from the hands of those small clan chieftains. This would undoubtedly infringe upon the interests of those small chieftains, taking away their livelihood. How could they willingly surrender their own kinsmen, or even their own freedom? Dream on. Therefore, a Han-Tang marriage could happen, and a Han-Tang merger could be discussed, but necessary deterrence and warnings were absolutely indispensable. War was unlikely, as they were all considered our own people, but they had to be given a stern warning to make them recognize reality. You had to make it crystal clear to those small chieftains of the Tang tribe that your takeover of the Tang tribe relied not on the popularity and support of Tang Ji and Tang Yao, but on your own tangible strength and ability. Even without the superficiality of a marriage alliance, you had absolute confidence in making the entire Tang tribe submit obediently. Resistance? Only a dead end. Submission? Only then could they live a life of plenty. For this reason you decided to do something big here in Tuo High Prefecture. It would serve both to intimidate those old diehards in the Tang tribe and to conveniently take care of your official business for this trip. The group disembarked and, led by Dashu, proceeded in a grand procession to the official bureau compound. Someone had already arranged accommodations for your family, while you, acting decisively, went straight to the main hall of the official bureau, ready to get down to business. You called Dashu to your side and instructed him in a low voice. "Go, call Shuda and Getu to me. Also, send a few boats to the estuary to secretly welcome Shuya back. Remember, this must be kept absolutely secret. Do not casually reveal the identities of Shuya and those with him to outsiders. This matter is of great importance." "Ah? Shuya is coming too? That's excellent." Dashu, usually calm and experienced, couldn't help but feel a little excited upon hearing that Shuya was coming to Tuo High Prefecture. He hasn't been back to the tribe for several years since he became an envoy to Bamboo Island, has he? He will surely be overjoyed to see the leader this time. You rolled your eyes in exasperation and reiterated, "Keep it secret. Shuya is returning covertly this time. The Xin Tribe knows nothing about this." "Rest assured, leader. I am well aware of the stakes involved in such matters." Dashu nodded, solemnly. Just as he was about to turn and leave to make arrangements, something occurred to him. He turned back and asked, "But, roughly, how many people are there? How many boats should we send to meet them?" "Send 2 or 3 boats. The seas have been rough lately. Send 2 3-masted large cargo ships. Go under the guise of, delivering goods. Don't be too conspicuous." Not long after Dashu left, Shuda and Dretu arrived at the official bureau. These two had also been away from the Han tribe's main base for some time. Upon seeing you, they were incredibly excited, though they didn't neglect any of the proper etiquette. Both were now military commanders, so they performed the military salute of kneeling on one knee and clasping their fists. They bowed in unison. Before you calling out, "Greetings, leader," rise. No need for formalities, you waved your hand casually, making a gesture as if to help them up, then got straight to the point without beating around the bush. "Do you know why I've called you?" "Two here this time?" I heard the leader has invented some new marvel, and this time it's to upgrade our equipment." Juda's eyes darted around as he asked tentatively. "The leader called both me and Commander Shu. Could it be? Could it be that we're preparing to make a move on those scoundrels from the Xin Tribe? Compared to Shuda's subtle probing, Shu, too, was much more direct, the words "I want to fight" practically written across his face. In the previous Grassland battle, his Xiaojiwei, Tiger Guards, had barely seen any real action. After firing a few cannons at the beginning, their part was mostly over. The frontal assault had been snatched up entirely by the Xiaojiwei. During the pursuit phase, before he could even catch up to the enemy, Shuda's gunboats had already blasted them to bits up ahead. He had merely led the Xiaojiwei to pick up scraps and round up surrendering soldiers, a pent-up energy simmering within him with no outlet. When the leader had transferred him to Tuo High Prefecture after the war and supplemented his forces with 10,000 surrendered soldiers for training, he knew there was still a big battle to be fought. Coupled with the later arrival of Shuda's Fubo fleet, wave-calming fleet, the target of this expanded new army was self-evident, wasn't it? It was as obvious as a louse on a bald man's head. Xiaojiwei too had been training his troops relentlessly during this period, just hoping to receive the leader's order soon to advance to the Bamboo Island front and have a good fight. Seeing you summon both him and Shuda this time, his heart immediately leaped. This is it, this is definitely it. Seeing their eager expressions, you smiled and kept them in suspense. You two, you're both right. Both? Shuda and Xiaojiwei exclaimed in unison, their eyes wide as saucers. That's right. You waved your hand, motioning for them to sit around a large conference table. Only then did you continue slowly. I've come. This time, firstly, to re-equip you and upgrade your gear. Secondly, to reorganize the new army and clarify your respective tasks. And thirdly, 3 days from now, I will hold a grand military parade in Tuo High Prefecture. Many people will be invited to observe. You absolutely must not bring shame upon our Han tribe. Understand? A military parade? Xiaojiwei too had been gleefully mulling over the words re-equip and assign tasks when the words military parade suddenly caught him off guard. He was momentarily stunned, but then, displays of military might were his specialty, his forte. He immediately puffed out his chest and guaranteed, "Ah, good. Please rest assured, leader, it will be magnificent and awe-inspiring." It's good that you have this confidence. You nodded in satisfaction. Come, both of you, take a look at this. The reorganization plan and specific task assignments are all on here. With that, you unfurled an extremely detailed military map with a whoosh onto the conference table. Shuda and Xiaojiwei too leaned in for a look and simultaneously gasped, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets, their jaws almost hitting the floor. This is Bamboo Island? They exclaimed in unison again, their voices filled with disbelief. It was no wonder they were shocked. The things on this map were indeed things they had never seen before. Most crucially, the terrain, rivers, and population distribution marked on this map were basically identical to their understanding of Bamboo Island, without the slightest discrepancy. However, there were also many differences such as those prominent administrative divisions. On this map, the Bamboo Island they knew was clearly divided into 6 distinct regions, or rather, 6 prefectures. The word prefecture was an administrative unit unique to the Han tribe. Now the leader had produced a map directly dividing the Xin tribe's territory, Bamboo Island, into 6 prefectures. The meaning behind this was self-evident, as clear as Sima Zhao's ambition, a famous Chinese idiom referring to an obvious, ill-intentioned plan. The northwestern tip of Bamboo Island, currently the political and cultural center of the Xin tribe, where Commander Xin and his elders congregated, had been grandly named Tuohai Prefecture, see supporting prefecture, by you. The name was derived from the submerged land bridge connecting to the mainland, signifying supporting the heavens and bridging the sea. You figured that after the Han tribe occupied Bamboo Island, this cross-sea bridge would definitely have to be built. Absolutely. The long, narrow coastal strip on the southern side of Bamboo Island was named Tuohai Prefecture, sea viewing, prefecture. This place would be the Han Tribe's future forward base for deep-sea exploration. After all, the Han Tribe's journey was towards the stars and seas. They would undoubtedly venture further. Additionally, its pleasant climate and beautiful scenery earned it such an elegant name. What was that saying? Facing the sea with spring blossoms. This Tuo High Prefecture was just such a place, spring-like all year round. Moreover, the coastal area had few reefs and many sandy beaches. According to modern tourist attraction grading standards for seascapes, rating Tuo High Prefecture as a first-class beach would be an understatement. Golden sands, white sands. They had them all here. The sand was fine and clean, soft underfoot, not at all gritty, absolutely a prime location for developing future seaside tourist resorts. The northern coastal area of Bamboo Island presented a stark contrast. This was the side facing the mainland across the strait. The coast was riddled with reefs, with hardly any sandy beaches visible, and the coastal waters were relatively deep. However, the reefs here were extraordinary. Many were naturally formed reef terraces, truly a marvel of nature's craftsmanship. During high tide, seawater would automatically fill these terraces. When the tide receded, the seawater gradually evaporated, and the high salinity seawater in the terraces would flow downwards from terrace to terrace, becoming saturated brine by the time it converged at the bottom. Finally, after a thorough baking by the sun, it transformed into the precious commodity essential for human and animal survival: salt. This was a very important main sea salt production area on Bamboo Island. Hence you, with your discerning eye, named it Xianfeng Prefecture, Abundant Salt Prefecture, signifying rich salt production and a prosperous life. The northeastern corner of Bamboo Island, currently the location of the Han Tribe's delegation, including the indigenous fishing tribe of Bamboo Island, the Yai Mountain area where the natives lived by fishing and hunting, was designated by you as Yaishan Prefecture, Cliff Mountain Prefecture. The name was based on the famous Yai Mountain in the area, without any particularly deep meaning. However, you mused that a large fishing port could be built here in the future to develop Bamboo Island's marine fishing industry. After all, 1. Lives off the mountain if near a mountain, and off the sea if near the sea. The southeastern corner of Bamboo Island, the most prominent eastern part of the entire island, was the first place to greet the morning sun each day. Thus, you poetically named it Chaoyang Prefecture, Morning Sun Prefecture. Chaoyang Prefecture itself wasn't particularly remarkable. The local indigenous population was sparse, and even for the Xin Tribe it was considered a largely undeveloped wasteland. You see, the Xin Tribe had a population of just over 100,000, hardly enough to fully develop the entirety of Bamboo Island. So there was actually quite a bit of undeveloped land on the island. Chaoyang Prefecture had not yet revealed any special resources. Whether it held any treasures, however, remained to be seen pending future exploration and development by the Han Tribe. It was too early to say, so for now, it was just an administrative division, a placeholder. Finally, there was the central region of Bamboo Island, the territory of the Xin Tribe, Food Tribe, subordinate to the Xin Tribe. It had mountains, water, and plains, with land so fertile you could practically squeeze oil from it. It was Bamboo Island's main grain-producing area and also the most densely populated region, undoubtedly a prefecture of immense strategic value. Therefore, you bestowed upon this place a deeply meaningful name, Xinhua Prefecture. Newly transformed prefecture. Xinhua Prefecture, Xinhua Prefecture. As the name suggested, it meant the newest territory brought under civilized rule. This name was chosen to constantly remind the local natives, you are now people of the Han Tribe. The Xin Tribe and all that is a thing of the past, a closed chapter. All of you are to obediently accept the leadership of the Han Tribe. You were, in essence, using the prefecture names to carry out subtle ideological transformation, commonly known as brainwashing. Undoubtedly, this was a brand new map. Whether it was the mountains and rivers, geographical features, or the distribution of population and other resources, It was far more detailed than any map of Bamboo Island Shu and Zhuetu had ever seen before. It was no exaggeration to say that probably even the Xin Tribe itself couldn't produce such a detailed map of Bamboo Island. More importantly, this map represented a new territory of the Han Tribe. Their leader already considered this place the sacred and inviolable territory of the Han Tribe. Zhuetu's blood boiled with excitement. It felt like his entire being was on fire. Looking at the magnificent map before him, he could almost see himself leading a great army, conquering new territories and achieving meritorious deeds on Bamboo Island. This was a monumental contribution. The thought alone was enough to keep him awake at night with excitement. Leader, when do we attack? When the time comes, I'll definitely use our cannons to scare those scoundrels so badly they'll wet their pants and kneel for mercy. Shu was even more direct. He had probably enjoyed firing cannons on the Grassland so much recently that his hands were itching again after not touching a cannon for a few days. Don't be hasty, don't be hasty. You can't rush good tofu, you said with a smile, waving your, let's finish reorganizing the new army first. Sharpening the axe doesn't delay wood cutting, right? With elite soldiers, are you still afraid you can't defeat a mere Xin Tribe? Isn't that a sure thing? You said this with a smile, then raised your hand and clapped twice. Pa! Pa! Immediately, a personal guard dressed in brocade robes and silver armor, holding an exquisite wooden box in both hands, walked in with steady steps from outside the door. Leader? The guard bowed and respectfully placed the wooden box on the table in front of you. You may withdraw. You nodded. After the guard withdrew, you slowly opened the box. Inside, surprisingly, was a pile of seals cast from silver. On the square bases were carved small, lifelike sculptures of various animals or soldiers. At first glance, they looked rather like chess pieces. Shu and Zhuetu both recognized these items, because they each had a similar one. This was the Great Seal representing the military authority of a Wei, guard commander. It was just that. The leader had actually taken out so many at once. This truly astonished them. They looked at each other, wondering what the leader was up to. You took out the seals one by one, and carefully placed the corresponding seal on the respective prefecture or county location on the Bamboo Island map, explaining the meaning and deployment to the two of them as you did so. You first picked up a seal engraved with cavalry and warhorses. The warhorse was depicted rearing up, its eyes wide as if neighing to the heavens, exuding an extraordinary aura. The knight on its back was clad in heavy armor, the gleaming spear in his hand flashing with a menacing cold light. If nothing else, the craftsmanship of this seal alone was superb. The figures of the man and horse were incredibly lifelike, as if they might leap off the seal at any moment. You placed this cavalry seal directly on the Tuohai Prefecture location on the Bamboo Island map, and said to the two in a solemn voice, "This is the newly formed Xiaojiwei, valiant cavalry guard. With lancers and mounted archers as its main force, a total strength of 2,500 men, equipped with 5,000 war horses, achieving a 2 horses per man configuration to ensure mobility and endurance. The soldiers will be selected from the new troops you, Zhuetu, have trained, choosing those with the most exquisite and superior riding skills for reorganization. Tuohai Prefecture has many hills and mountains, as well as large plains. The area is vast, but the terrain is relatively flat, very suitable for large cavalry units to maneuver rapidly. If we only use infantry garrisons, this amount of troops would definitely not be enough to manage it. Our reach would be too short. Therefore, the garrison stationed here must not only be able to fight tough battles, but also be able to move quickly, like a startled rabbit. As soon as you finished speaking, you picked up another seal, this one engraved with an armored soldier holding a powerful crossbow. You placed it in a mountainous area north of Tuohai Prefecture, and said to them again, "This is the Xiaojiwei Whistling Arrow Guard, with a total of 2,500 soldiers, all infantry. Among them, 1,500 crossbowmen form the core main force, supported by 400 spearmen and 400 shield bearers, 100 cavalry scouts, and 100 logistics personnel. Their main task is to garrison Tuohai Prefecture. The north of Tuohai Prefecture is backed by vast mountainous jungles, which is the territory of the Lai tribe, hunting tribe, subordinate to the Xin tribe. The local natives are very skilled hunters and extremely familiar with the terrain. The terrain there consists of rugged mountains and dense jungles, making it difficult for large cavalry and heavy infantry units to operate effectively. On the other hand, agile crossbowmen have an advantage in such terrain. Therefore, stationing the Xiaojiwei here is primarily to guard against rebellions by the local natives and ensure the stability of our rear. After listening, Shui-Tu and Shu-Da both nodded in deep agreement. They understood clearly that by considering the local geographical features, as well as the distribution of population and local forces, to rationally allocate troops and formulate corresponding tactics, the leader had indeed considered things much more thoroughly than they had. Many detailed issues they hadn't even thought of had been anticipated by the leader and had corresponding arrangements made. The two quickly realized that the leader wasn't just simply assigning tasks. This was clearly a military lesson for them, personally imparting strategic knowledge of troop deployment. Not everyone was qualified to receive this level of special tutoring. Thus, both of them perked up their ears and listened with utmost concentration, afraid of missing a single word. You then picked up a seal engraved with a mighty bear and placed it on the territory of Tuohai Prefecture, explaining once more. This is the Feixiongwei, Flying Bear Guard, with a total of 3,000. Soldiers, primarily spearmen, shield bearers, and crossbowmen, all heavy infantry, supplemented by a small number of cavalry for reconnaissance and harassment. The soldiers will also be selected from the new army you, Shui-Tu, have trained. Be sure to select the most elite and valiant soldiers to fill its ranks. I want the Feixiongwei to be an iron army that can be summoned at will, fight when it arrives, and win when it fights, because their main offensive direction and garrison area is the current political and cultural center of the Xin Tribe, as well as the lair of their Grand Commander and Council of Elders. That place will undoubtedly see the fiercest resistance and the most brutal battles. Therefore, this unit must be exceptionally capable of fighting and tackling tough nuts. As for weapons and equipment, I'll provide plenty. You'll all get the best, but the men, Shui-Tu, you must select them for me. I only want them to be absolutely obedient and exceptionally skilled in combat. Do you understand what I mean? After speaking, your gaze, sharp and intense, fixed on Shui-Tu, who was responsible for training the new army. That gaze seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 caddies, instantly making Shui-Tu feel the heavy burden on his shoulders. Fine beads of cold sweat even appeared on his forehead. Understood. But leader, you've only assigned 3 locations, and that's already 8,000 men. I don't think I have enough troops on hand for that. The shortfall is a bit large. Perhaps you could supplement me with another batch of new recruits. Shui-Tu wiped the sweat from his forehead and said with some difficulty, You don't need to worry about that. I have other arrangements. You stated simply, without further explanation. The 10,000 new soldiers under Shui-Tu's command were definitely far from enough. But as for the other soldiers, someone would naturally help you gather them. It just wasn't the time to reveal it yet, so you kept them in suspense. Next, you took out a seal engraved with a gray giant wolf treading on waves and placed it on the Xianfeng Prefecture location, continuing, This is the Hailangwei, Sea, Wolf Guard, with a force of 2,000 men, primarily heavy infantry. Crossbowmen will make up half, with halberdiers and saber and shield men each making up a quarter. Their main task is to garrison Xianfeng Prefecture. The land in Xianfeng Prefecture is quite saline and alkaline. Apart from being able to produce sea salt, its grain yield has always been low, and it can't support that many troops, so only 2,000 men are assigned. However, the local Yan Tribe, Salt Tribe, has lived by salt production for generations. They are fierce and not afraid of a fight, so they cannot be underestimated. The Hailangwei garrisoning Xianfeng Prefecture might face considerable pressure. However, they can form a pincer formation with the Xiaojiwei in the neighboring Xin Prefecture, supporting each other. In this way, the two garrisons combined will have 4,500 men, which, from a macro-strategic perspective, is sufficient to meet the defensive needs in that direction. Hearing this, Zhui Tu's eyes lit up and a look of sudden realization spread across his face. He tentatively analyzed, So, leader, you've placed the most elite cavalry unit in the central area of Bamboo Island, which is richest in resources, both to facilitate the upkeep of this costly cavalry and to allow the cavalry to occupy the most advantageous strategic position, controlling the overall situation. Coupled with their superior mobility, no matter which other direction on Bamboo Island encounters problems, the Xiaojiwei stationed in the middle can act like a fire brigade, rapidly providing support in all directions. This way, although the peripheral areas of Bamboo Island nominally have only one garrison each, appearing slightly undermanned, if you factor in the mobile support from the Xiaojiwei, it's as if all peripheral areas are simultaneously defended by two units, significantly strengthening their defensive capabilities. Moreover, that most strategically valuable central area, Tuohai Prefecture, although nominally garrisoned by only one Xiaojiwei, is actually surrounded by a ring of well-equipped, heavy infantry garrisons like an iron barrel. Even if some trouble arises in the central Tuohai Prefecture, the surrounding garrisons can descend like tigers from the mountains with overwhelming force to crush any nascent rebellion in its bud. Leader, is this your overall layout? Hearing Zhui Tu's coherent analysis, you couldn't help but smile with gratification, a look of "this lad is teachable" on your face. Hey, not bad, not bad. I haven't even finished setting up my chessboard, and you've already discerned my overall strategic layout. Not bad, you've made progress. You can even draw inferences and apply what you've learned flexibly. You were very satisfied with Zhui Tu's performance, praised him a couple of times, then picked up a seal engraved with a soaring giant eagle, placing it firmly on the territory of Tuohai Prefecture. Only then did you continue slowly, your voice, not loud but carrying an undeniable authority. This is the Feixiongwei Eagle Soaring Guard, 2,000 men, all infantry. The requirements for this unit are not high. As long as they are disciplined and obedient, that's enough. Tuohai Prefecture doesn't have many people right now. It's mostly wasteland. Stationing troops there is mainly to cooperate with future local construction after we take over. So, when selecting men, you understand what I mean, right? After speaking, you gave Zhui Tu a pointed look, your eyes full. You know what I mean, insinuation. Understood, rest assured, leader. I guarantee it will be arranged perfectly. Zhui Tu immediately understood, patting his chest in assurance and, "I'll handle it, you can relax" expression on his face. You nodded in satisfaction, without further instruction, then picked up the last seal, which bore the image of an agile leopard, and placed it on the final piece of Han Tribe territory on the Bamboo Island map, Yaoshan Prefecture. This is the Baotawei, Leopard Tactics Guard, 2,500 men, also heavy infantry, responsible for garrisoning Yaoshan Prefecture. Yaoshan Prefecture is where our delegation is currently stationed. There's also a very important Clearwater River estuary there, as well as the inland river dock we painstakingly built. In the future, it will be an important seaport and one of the core areas for the Han Tribe's key construction projects on Bamboo Island. Therefore, the strength of the Baotawei cannot be too weak. It must be able to hold its own. However, you can assign more new recruits to this unit, and the combat effectiveness requirements can be appropriately relaxed, because our next offensive route will start from Yaoshan Prefecture. After the main force successfully lands, the Tuohai will immediately switch to local defense and will not follow the main force to attack other prefectures. So they just need to defend their garrison well and prevent anyone from flanking us. Plus, with the foundation laid by our delegation's previous construction efforts, sending a group of new recruits there shouldn't be a big problem. You placed the last seal and, as an aside, gave Shui some instructions. Your meaning was clear. You wanted to ease some of his pressure. After all, if you really expected him to produce so many elite units with explosive combat power all at once, he would indeed be like a clever housewife trying to cook without rice. It would be asking too much. However, after you finished speaking, Shui and Shu Da fell into a brief silence again. They both frowned, looking thoughtful, as if they were struggling to digest the garrison plans you had proposed and the complex information they contained. After a short while, Shui counted on his fingers carefully, and then, with a distressed face, complained to you. Leader, with this arrangement we'll need a total of 14,500 men. But the troops I can mobilize, not counting my own Hubenwei, are only 10,000. This leaves a shortfall of 4,500 men. Where are we going to get them? Looking at his sorrowful expression, as if he'd lost several 100 caddies of meat, you couldn't help but smack your lips before slowly saying, as for this shortfall, I plan to supplement part of it with slaves, and then also bring in some from the Tang Tribe and the Xin Tribe, cobbling them together. It shouldn't be a big problem to reach that number. What? Get men from the Tang Tribe and the Xin Tribe? Will they be willing to fight for our Han Tribe? Shui was the first to widen his eyes, his eyeballs nearly popping out of their sockets. His face, which screamed, "Leader, are you sure you're not on something?" showed he could hardly believe his ears. Shu Da also had a look of disbelief. Though not as exaggerated as Shui-Tu's, his furrowed brow and slightly agape mouth fully expressed his inner shock and doubt. "I'm not kidding you," you said calmly, waving your hand to signal them to be patient. "That bunch from the Xin Tribe isn't a monolithic block. They have plenty of internal conflicts. Besides, do you think that kid Shuya has just been eating, drinking, and making merry on Bamboo Island for over 2 years without doing anything? I can give you a little inside information now. Our Han tribe has already gained a certain amount of support from the natives on Bamboo Island, and it's the kind of die-hard support where they're willing to risk their lives for our Han tribe. Although the number of people supporting us isn't very large, it's still no problem to gather 1,000 or 2,000 able-bodied young men who can fight and endure. Add in some cannon fodder-level slaves, and reorganizing them into a garrison is an easy task, a piece of cake. Additionally, there's the Tang Tribe. Since we're going to merge into one family sooner or later, wouldn't it be a waste of resources not to take advantage of their strength now? I will personally go and persuade the Tang Tribe to send troops to assist in the battle. It won't be a big problem to muster another garrison's worth of troops. This way, it might even accelerate the merger process between our two tribes. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, why not? This, Shui thought for a moment, still unable to shake off some worry. Leader, our relationship with the Tang Tribe is temporarily decent, I believe that. But the Xin Tribe, you expect them to fight their own people is that reliable? Won't they turn against us at a critical moment and stab us in the back? You glanced at him, a meaningful smile playing on your lips, and couldn't help but retort. You two were once leaders of your respective tribes, or at least clan chiefs. You've seen a bit of the world. So here's the question. Suppose your relationship with us, the Han tribe, is quite good, but with the higher-ups in the Xin tribe, there's some friction, even minor conflicts. At this moment, I offer you something you desperately want. Something only I can give you. Something the Xin tribe simply cannot provide. And ask you to cooperate by sending troops to help us fight. Would you do it or not? Although these words were a bit convoluted, like a tongue twister, as veterans of the Han tribe, Shu Da and Shui naturally understood your meaning. Your words merely emphasized that the relationship between the Han tribe and this potential collaborating force was far better than their relationship with the Xin tribe's leadership. Moreover, the Han tribe possessed something that the other party eagerly desired, something that currently only the Han tribe could produce, one of a kind, no other source. As for what exactly that something was, there were too many possibilities. To list offhand, and it wasn't important. The crucial point was, if they put themselves in the other party's shoes, would they agree to send troops to help the Han tribe fight? After a brief silence, Shuda was actually the first to speak. He asked thoughtfully, "Leader, is this something you mentioned really that important to them? And what price would the other party have to pay to obtain it from you?" It's quite important, I suppose." You rubbed your chin and casually gave an example. For instance, imagine you're still using primitive tools like stones and wooden sticks to till the land and grow grain, working yourself to death yet still unable to fill your stomach. And I can provide you with sharp iron farming tools, strong draft oxen, high-yield superior seeds, and advanced farming techniques, allowing you to easily achieve a bountiful harvest and eat your fill at every meal from then on. The condition is that you send troops to help me fight a battle, and only some less important peripheral skirmishes. Would you do it or not? Of course, this analogy of yours was actually very close to the truth, or rather, it was the truth itself. Ha! Is there even a need to ask? Upon hearing this, Shuda immediately became excited and slapped his thigh. This concerns the future livelihood of the entire tribe. If I could gain such great benefits by paying such a small price, and if I really had that many men, I would definitely do it. Whoever wouldn't is a fool. This deal is a guaranteed win. So, this question isn't a question at all, you said with a confident smile. In a few days, Shuya will secretly bring those native chieftains who are willing to cooperate with us for a meeting. At that time, we can negotiate openly with them. Whether they are willing to send troops or not will be clear once we ask. At worst, we can just add a few more bargaining chips and sweeten the deal for them, but I reckon it won't be that troublesome. As for the Tang Tribe, whether they will agree to send troops, hey, if your military parade 3 days from now is impressive and awe-inspiring enough to thoroughly intimidate them, I think it shouldn't be a big problem either. When the time comes, by pooling resources from both sides, cobbling things together, it shouldn't be a big issue to muster 4,500 men. If it's still not enough, we can select some strong and fearless individuals from among the slaves to serve as cannon fodder. We can definitely fill this gap. You don't need to worry too much about the manpower.